Random Thought.
This is Random Thoughts with your host, Andrew Pollock.
Coming to you from beautiful and a very chilly Fresh Meadows, New York, this is the Random Thought Program. I am Andrew Pollock, guiding you through the remaining amount of time I have left on this recording because Spreaker only lets me record for a half hour, so I better make the most out of it, which is one complaint I do have. And the other complaint I do want to get out right now is studio I'm in. There's two heaters that are connected to the wall on the left of me and then right behind me. And if it's not on, the room gets extremely cold during the winter months. Luckily, I have this other heater here, this Kenwood one. I don't even know what temperature it is, but it's decently warm in here right now. That's all I can be thankful for. First of all, before I get into football today, because this is what the show's going to be about for the first episode, I guess, because there's a lot of football I have to get out today. The weather here in the New York City area is going downhill until the weekend, because I'm going on the weather app right now, and it says right now, because it's 11 o'clock as I'm recording this. Yes, this is pre-recorded, because I don't have time to be live right now. Right now, it is only 34 degrees in Central Park. That's what it says. And during the day, I did hear the weather report. In the afternoon, the temperature is supposed to drop. So, they're saying the night's low here in New York, it's going to be 18 degrees. And then we're going to have a recovery by Wednesday, and then the weekend we're supposed to get a big storm. Well, not a storm, just a big torrential rain, I guess, that might cause flooding. So, boy. I mean, I feel bad for people in Missouri that had to deal with it recently, but I hope we don't get what they got in Missouri. Anyhow, again, before I get into the football, I need to give out a few shout-outs, because if I don't, then I'll be criticized for it. First, a huge shout out to Mongo Nation listening. Basically, I'm part of it too. We're the Mike Francesa fan club. Shout out to all Mongos and Mongettes who are listening. Yes, that's what the female Mongos are called, Mongettes. I don't know who came up with it, but it's a clever name. Shout out to anybody listening from WFAN. That includes producers, I guess. I do appreciate the producers over there. They're really nice people. And shout out to everybody listening in the New York City metropolitan area. That can include New Jersey and Connecticut as well. And I want to give a shout out to a fellow YouTuber, because a lot of people know me by now. I am a YouTuber. Shout out to Mike Cologne up in New Haven, Connecticut. And shout out to everybody else listening up there in New Haven, Connecticut as well. And one more shout out. Shout out to everybody listening in Bardstown, Kentucky. Story about Bardstown is John Minko, the update guy for Mike Francesa, he basically told everybody that he listened to Fred Hagen down there on the online feed, of course, WBRT Radio. And I told this producer over the weekend that I was doing this show. And, I hope Tracy got the word out, because today is the day the podcast is going out, which is January 4th. And, again, shout out to everybody listening in Bardstown, Kentucky. And overall, shout out to everybody listening on Spreaker. Shout out to everybody listening on the YouTube singlecast, because this will be singlecasted on YouTube, because I did make sure that this was going to be done with YouTube as well before I even began this. So, overall, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. If you did download on the Spreaker app, it really means a lot. It really does. Now, enough with the small talk. I've got to get into the football. I will get into the Jets, but first up, I want to give the list of the NFL coaches that were fired recently, because I think that's a top priority going into today, because today's Black Monday, and for many people who don't know what Black Monday is, Black Monday is a very sad day in the NFL. Basically, a lot of coaches lose their jobs, and believe it or not, this year was kind of different, because we've already had 3 coaches fired, believe it or not, before today, which is crazy to even say that. So I'm going to give the list. There's only 3 coaches right now who were fired from their jobs. Most recent one was last night. Jim Tom Sula, the 49ers coach, which in my opinion he was a laughingstock to begin with as a coach, was fired last night. You go 5-11 in your first season, and then again make yourself to be a joke. That's one reason why you're going to get fired. And also, the Cleveland Browns fired their coach, which was expected, obviously. They fired Coach Mike Pettine. They went 10-22 under Pettine, which is kind of an embarrassment with, the quarterback controversy with Manziel, Hoyer. And yesterday they started Josh Brown against the Steelers, which didn't work out so great. And then there was Chip Kelly. Yes, Chip Kelly was fired almost a week ago, as of tomorrow, the 5th. He was fired last Tuesday, and there was reasons why Chip Kelly did get fired, and that was making his own decisions. Now, coaches, in my opinion, should not, and I mean not, be in charge of any front office decisions involving a team. That's why you have a general manager to do that. He was the general manager and the coach. I mean, that right there equals disaster. Let alone making that ridiculous trade to trade away Nick Foles for Sam Bradford, and then trading away your running back to Buffalo. That right there, my ladies and gentlemen, bad decision making. Very bad decision making. If I'm a general manager, I'm not doing that. I'm not letting go of my quarterback, and I'm not letting go of my running back either. Let alone getting DeMarco Murray. He should have just stayed in Dallas. That's how I always felt about Chip Kelly making just awful, awful, awful decisions. And that's why he basically got fired. Now, there are coaches that are on the hot seat, obviously, and I'll give them out right now. Chuck Pagano of the Colts. Now, everybody is asking me right now, why is Pagano on the hot seat? Basically, he turned down a 1-year contract before the season even began, and now there's speculation that he might not come back to coach the team. So, Pagano is on the hot seat, and Jim Cadwell is on the hot seat, basically because the general manager they don't even know who the GM of the Lions is. And obviously, the Fords, who own that franchise, they love Cadwell. And the Fords gave him their respect. But again, it's going to have to come to the decision of the new GM. Because again, we don't know who the new GM of the Lions is. And obviously, we got Tom Coughlin. I'm going to make a special episode about that, likely tomorrow or on Wednesday, because this is a very big, and I mean big, job for any coach to come here and, guide the New York Giants. Now, I'm a big New York Giants fan. A lot of people know that if they follow me on Twitter. And, I don't want to speculate coaches because then that will not be fair to everybody listening. They said, and this is what the Giants said, that tomorrow is going to be a decision on what they're going to do with Tom Coughlin. So my speculation is, I think John Mara will likely have a press conference tomorrow in the morning. Now, I'm not going to be able to watch it because I will not be in front of the TV. But I will likely find out about what Mara had to say. And overall, I am going to be very annoyed. I mean, if he wants to keep Coughlin, there'll be questions. But overall, Jerry Reese, the general manager, has got to go. That's all I have to say. And the last coach who is on the hot seat is obviously Mike McCarry, the Tennessee Titans coach. Now, there's been speculation that Chip Kelly would want to coach Marcus Mariota, take the Tennessee job, and basically control that franchise. Now, they are going to have a general manager this time, I'd suppose, because letting Chip Kelly make decisions was bad to begin with. If you let him do that again, you're basically going to fire him again. So, it would be good, I guess, for Mariota to have his old college coach help him out in the NFL, I guess. And, we'll talk about that going down the road the next couple of weeks. Because today's Black Monday. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of coaches fired today. And, again, I will continue to make episodes about these coaches getting fired the next couple days, the next couple weeks, because this will obviously lead up to what teams are going to do for free agency and, of course, the draft. And, again, expect more news as it happens from me. Now, let's talk about the New York Jets for a second. What a disaster that was yesterday. It really, really was. Now, there are reasons why the Jets don't deserve to be in the playoffs as of today. And it all had to do with yesterday's game. First of all, where was the big run game that we've saw in the past couple of weeks? I didn't see it yesterday. There was a good run game against the Patriots last week. Where was that against the Bills? And another thing, where were the big defensive stops? Clearly, I didn't see them. Clearly, I didn't see big turnovers because the Bills were the ones getting the big turnovers. Which leads me to my next point. Ryan Fitzpatrick. If your quarterback throws 3 interceptions in a key game, that if you win, you're in. You throw 3 picks. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is not a good way to go into the NFL playoffs. Let alone the Steelers winning yesterday. That's why the New York Jets are not in the playoffs. And also, there were a few special team mistakes, which I don't want to get into because then that would be unfair. But this had to be the best offense Jet fans have seen since Testaverde and Parcells. Now, a lot of Jet fans knew the 08 collapse was coming, especially when Favre got hurt back then, especially when we all knew Mancini was on the hot seat back then. But, for a first-year coach, Todd Bowles did a pretty good job getting that team to 10-6. And at the beginning of the season, Jet fans did have high expectations, and I completely understand that. Now there's going to be bigger expectations for that team next year to definitely make the playoffs. Now, Super Bowl, we can have that discussion in the fall, but playoffs for next season, that right there is an expectation for the New York Jets to, again, hopefully win 11 games. There are expectations for them to get to that record. The only way they're going to get back to that record is if they keep Fitzpatrick. You cannot rebuild that team. That team had legitimate NFL team depth, especially at the running back position. When Ivory got hurt, there were other guys who stepped up. Before this disaster yesterday, Decker and Marshall, they both had 1,000 yards. You can't get rid of those two key guys. They're huge for your offense. The Jets right now have an offensive line that has potential. They cannot start from fresh again. Now, the only thing I'd recommend the Jets do heading into the draft, probably draft a couple more offensive and defensive linemen. Maybe draft a wide receiver, just in case if the whole quarterback controversy comes back. Just get another quarterback, just in case. That's all I'm saying. But again, and I say this to make my point clear, the New York Jets are going to have high expectations going into next season. As long as you have the duo of Bowles and Fitzpatrick leading the way. Now, before I go, because I figured, why do I have to ramble on for 10 more minutes? I'm going to give out the matchups for Wildcard Weekend, because I figured, I should make that a priority for today's show, obviously. So here I go. Let's start off with Saturday's matchups. First of all, before I get into Saturday's matchups, what the NFL did this year was they're actually having both conferences, like the AFC is going to have 2 games on Saturday, and the NFC is going to have 2 games on Sunday, which I've never even seen that happen before. I don't even remember a time where both conferences were even playing on the same day. So, here's Saturday's schedule. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to be playing the Houston Texans at 4:30. Now, the question is, there are rumors going around that, we know ESPN's doing it, but they're saying that they're going to give the game to the whole country on ABC. So it's probably ESPN doing, maybe a simulcast and putting it on ABC. Because I think what they want to do this year is they want to reach more people, I guess. They figured, this is a playoff game. Let's have it, on the over-the-air feed, I guess. If people still use digital over-the-air signals now. And then CBS is doing Pittsburgh at the Bengals, which will be at 8 o'clock. The only question is we don't know if Dalton's playing or if McCarron's playing. that's speculation that'll have to go into the weekend. So that's your Saturday games. Kansas City at Houston at 4:30, and then Pittsburgh and Cincinnati at 8 o'clock. And then Sunday, you got the Seahawks going to play the Minnesota Vikings. That game is actually going to be done by NBC at 1 o'clock, which usually I've always seen CBS doing a 1 o'clock game on a Sunday and NBC doing the games on Saturday. And now ESPN just decided to jump on board with the whole NFL playoffs the first weekend. That's how the schedule's gotten crazy. And then you got the Packers going to play the Redskins at 4:30 on Fox. So Sunday matchups are this: Seahawks at Vikings at 1 o'clock, Packers at Redskins at 4:30. So there you go. Before I go, I will make a episode about the matchups. Obviously, I have to. It's my responsibility. I will do that. And again, hopefully Tuesday or Wednesday, I will have a special episode regarding Tom Coughlin, regarding the future of what the New York Football Giants are going to be, because I expect Mara to say something very important tomorrow, if he is speaking, because we don't know who's speaking tomorrow at that press conference, because all the Giants just said was, decision's coming Tuesday. Well, tomorrow's Tuesday, so we'll have to wait and see on that. And, overall, I'll give you guys an update on NFL head coaches that were fired. So that's what's going to be in the next couple of episodes. So, before I go, I will give you my social media information and, of course, my fan mail if you do want to reach me. I'll give out the fan mail first. My fan mail email address is Andrew718Pollock, that's spelled P-O-2-L's A-C-K @gmail.com. You want to get me on social media, I'm at Andrew Sports Fan. That's Twitter, Instagram, and on Tumblr too. And on YouTube, if you want to go onto my channel, because that's where this podcast will be simulcasted too, just put a space between Andrew Sports Fan. And you should see my Mike Francesa picture as my channel logo. If you see that, then you know you're following the right person. So that ends the first episode of the Random Thought program. Thank you for listening. Until next time, goodbye.